An entitled Karen and her kid pulls me out of my wheelchair because according to her, I'm faking my disability. As a result, she ends up giving me serious non-reversible damage, so I end up suing her. Here's how it all went down. So here's some important information for this story. I'm in a wheelchair because I have a disease called EDS type 3 that causes my joints to be loose to the point they just pop out constantly during the day. When my joints are out, I can put them in myself, or if there are too many out, one of my parents or carers needs to pop them back in. Also, I have PTSD because I was abused by someone hired to help me get a bit better. Because of my PTSD, I have a hard time standing up for myself, and I'm a bit scared of people if they get too close. A few days ago, I was in a grocery store with my mom. It was the first time in weeks I went out because my disease is really bad at the moment. I was having a good time. My mom put me in a wheelchair in a spot where people could not bump me and went in the aisle because there were too many shopping carts in them, and I could not go through. She told me it could take a bit because she needed to get things from the deli, and there was a huge line. I didn't see this as a problem because I had done this so many times and never had a problem. After a minute or so, the entitled kid of the story, who was I guess about 7 or 8 years old, came up to me. The kid was watching me and looking at my wheelchair and asked me something. Even though I was a bit uncomfortable, he was a kid, so I thought it was okay. He asked me, "Why are you in that wheelchair?" So I told him, "I use my chair because I can't walk right. But I see your legs moving, so you should walk." So I say, "I know it looks like that, but you see, if I walk or stand, my joints could go out of place and I fall. Also, it hurt really bad to stand, and that's no fun, right?" He then runs away after saying goodbye. Of course, I was not offended. He was a little kid and was curious, or so I thought. I thought this was a good moment to teach him why some people use wheelchairs and that it was not scary. The kid ran back to his mother and told her all the things I told him. This is the moment crap hit the fan. In a few seconds, the Karen stood in front of me, staring me down. So I say, "Hello, can I help you with something, ma'am? Or am I in your way? Why are you in that wheelchair? My son told me you can walk normally. I'm sorry if your son did not understand what I said correctly, but I have to use it because my joints can't support me for long and will pop out if I walk more than a little bit." Honestly, I wish I hadn't said this, because I swear she turned into a demon. So the Karen then yells, "How dare you call my son stupid? He can remember everything and is 100 times smarter than you." I was taken aback by her sudden loud voice and start to move back a bit. And as soon as the screaming stopped, the demand started. The annoying kid started to tug at his mom's arm. Karen then shouts, "I've never heard of your stupid disease. You are faking it, aren't you? There's no way you can dislocate your joints that easy. You just want free money so you don't have to work like us honest people." At that moment, I just let her rant and hoped when she had her little moment in the spotlight, the bitch would leave, but oh, was I wrong. This is where the little shit jumped in. The entitled kid then shouts, "Mommy, if she isn't sick, then she doesn't need her wheelchair, right?" "You're right, sweetie. You're such a smart boy. If she doesn't need her wheelchair, can I use it? I want you to push me around, Mommy. I'm tired. I think it'll be so much fun." I was livid. I politely screamed, "This isn't a toy. I really need this. I can only stand or walk for a really short time. I'll hurt myself real bad and I will need to go to hospital if I walk or stand without. So go away, you are not getting it." At this point, the Karen starts to turn red and gives me the drop dead stare. This Karen then decides to scream, "Shut the frick up. My God, you're giving me a headache with your whining. Now you heard my son, he wants your wheelchair, so get the frick out. My little angel wants to use it. He is tired." I was thinking to myself, I'm not going to give this no matter how scared I am. My city will only give me a wheelchair for 1 year for free, and because it is really hard to get a wheelchair funded, I had to buy one myself. It cost more than €700. Ma'am, for the 1,000th time, you're not getting my wheelchair. And believe me, I'm much more tired than him, and in a lot more pain. The Karen looked so shocked that I dared to talk back to her. By this time, people started to notice but just walked away. All except for one, thank God, went to alert an employee. "Give me your wheelchair now. My son wants it and deserves it so much more than a faker like you. Get up and walk away. Look at these people staring. They can all see how pathetic you are." At this point, I had enough and I started to raise my voice, hoping that this ignorant, abysmal human being would back off. "In God's name, back of you, bitch, I will not give you my wheelchair. If you try and take it, I will have you arrested." Then I saw my mom show up. "Hi, OP. Is everything okay? Is she bothering you?" Karen then speaks to my mom and says, "Look, you bitch. My problem is with that deadbeat girl with her stupid handicap. I bet she learned how to fake an injury from her stupid parents, so stay out of this." My mom went berserk. She screamed, "How dare you say that? You can call me anything, but she is my daughter, you hag. How can you think she is faking her handicap? She's in extreme pain and really can't stand. We're going to step away so I can get her home." The annoying little kid then tells her mother in the most annoying tone, "Mommy, I want that chair and I want it now. I want you to push me." "Listen, kid, you are not getting it, so stop it." Karen shouts, "I want that wheelchair. My son deserves to have fun. Are you denying a kid his toy?" My mom then steps in and says, "Step away now and leave. You are not touching my daughter or her wheelchair." At this moment, the Karen monster got physical. This is where the damage really happens. The Karen suddenly dives past my mom and comes at me and grabs my hand. I swear she pulls as hard as she can. When she pulled, I could feel my total arm starting to dislocate. My wrist, elbow, and shoulder gave up and dislocated. I felt myself getting pulled out of the chair, and since my feet are still on the footstand, my ankle gave up also. The wheelchair along with me flew to the ground, and I started screaming in pain. So many joints came out, and at that point, an employee came rushing to me asking what he can do. I can hear my mom scream my name and see her slap the woman hard across the face, but my mom was more worried about me at that point and came rushing to help me. "Ma'am, what in God's name are you doing? Why would you hurt a handicapped woman?" said a grocery store employee. The Karen dragged the wheelchair off me, put her kid in it, and started making a beeline for the exit. My mom entered extreme protective mode. The employee screamed, "Come back with that wheelchair! Someone stop her!" My mom then checked up on me and asked if I was okay, which I was clearly not. My mom knows how to put back my joints because it goes really easy but painful. I was traumatized. I was screaming, "Help me! My whole left leg and arm are out!" I was crying so loud while my mom put all my joints back in place. I didn't notice at the time, but the employee ran after the monster to get my wheelchair back. My mom then screamed, "Someone call an ambulance! She is hurt and needs help!" "OP, please stay still. Help is coming." I was in too much pain and at that point fainted from the pain. Because of the pain, I don't remember anything from that point that I fainted till I got in the ambulance. I was told by my mom in the hospital that after I fainted, the employee with the security caught the Karen monster scum and they pulled my wheelchair and her back to me. Luckily, my wheelchair was okay. Another employee guided the ambulance and police that arrived. As soon as my mom saw the Karen, she wanted to just attack her, but was smart enough not to with the police there. I was loaded into the ambulance bed while the woman was arrested. She was charged with attacking a disabled person and theft. In the ambulance, I was given some morphine and oxygen. I spent 3 days in the hospital for my pain and healing, since I was bruised everywhere on the right side and I'm in a ton of braces so my joints can rest. I'm dragging that woman to court, because this has caused permanent damage and I will need surgery on my ankle within the year. Wow. Just wow. I hope OP is doing better now and that the surgery goes well. In case something like this happens again, I would recommend having the police in fast dial and calling them as soon as you start feeling uncomfortable. Thought maybe you'd want to call your mother or whoever is taking care of you at the moment first. Oh yeah, I hope that terrible Karen monster of a human gets to pay you some sweet, sweet money for all the trouble. Good luck, OP. This next story is just frustrating and worth listening to. It's titled, "My son is allowed to bully you because you're weird." When I was in middle school, I developed a nervous tic. The way it was explained to me was that I had a lot of stress, but I didn't have a way to deal with it. This caused my brain to search for an outlet, which ended up causing me to scream at random times. As you can imagine, I get a lot of crap from everyone else at school because of this. I went to see a therapist to help it go away, and one of the first things she suggested was that I bring a stress ball to school. I picked up one of those stress balls with the faces and named it Gerald. I had Gerald for about a week until one morning on the bus. I had Gerald in the front pocket of my backpack and I was trying to get some homework done when I heard my backpack being opened. I looked up to see one of the high school kids holding Gerald up in the air. I knew this kid, and he was one of my worst bullies, but his granddad was friends with my granddaddy, so I had known him my whole life. He lived with his mom, who we'll call Karen, and his granddad. I hoped that he would show some humanity, so I spoke up. "Can you please give that back?" He went back to his seat, opened the window, and threw Gerald out. The bus driver told the kid that she was going to write him up, which would get him kicked off the bus for the rest of the school year. Unfortunately, she also told me that she couldn't legally stop the bus. When I got home in the afternoon, my dad picked me up and told me that both he and my mom had received emails about the incident. I told him that I didn't want to talk about it at the time, and he understood that and gave me space. A few hours later, we got a knock at our door. My dad answered, and it was Karen. "I got a call from the school today saying that Mr. Annoying Kid can't ride the bus anymore because of your daughter," she said. "I'm a single mom and I work. How am I supposed to pick him up from school?" "I don't know," my dad said. "And frankly, I don't care. Your son bullied my daughter." My tic was triggered and I shouted, which caught her attention. "How is he supposed to treat her like a normal person when she does things like that? You know she can't control it," my dad said. "Bullshit," Karen said. "You just don't discipline her properly. I bet she does it for attention." "Karen," my dad said, "I can't do anything about what happened to Mr. Annoying Kid. That was completely up to the school." "Yes, you can," she said. "Just make her tell the school that she was provoking him. Then they'll let him back on the bus." "How was I provoking him?" I asked. "He literally took my stress ball from my bag while I wasn't looking. How is it fair that you're allowed to scream at random times with no consequences, and you're allowed to have toys on the bus like a 5-year-old? Karen countered. "My tic is caused by my stress," I said. "The stress ball was supposed to make it stop." "Your tic." Yes, she really used finger toads. "Isn't real, sweetheart," she said. "I know you're faking. And you think you can get away with it because you weren't brought up correctly? Maybe your son thinks he can get away with tormenting my daughter because he wasn't raised right, my dad said. He shut the door in her face and locked it. We waited a few minutes and she finally drove away. Our story doesn't end here. The following Saturday, I was home alone when there was a knock at the door. It was Mr. Annoying and his granddad. My grandson has something he'd like to say to you, he said. I'm really sorry I took your stress ball, he said. I won't be bothering you anymore. I was too surprised to say much, so I just shrugged and said, it's fine. No, it's not fine, his granddad said. If he or his mother ever bother you again, don't be afraid to call me. Granddad pulled out his wallet and tried to hand me a $20 bill. That's very kind of you, sir, I said, but the stress ball was only about $5. The extra 15 is for putting up with them, he smiled. Okay, I said. Thank you, sir. The next day after church, I bought a stress ball that looked just like Gerald, and named him Gerald too. A week later, everyone on my bus was told that we couldn't have personal items in school. Phones, gaming systems, stress balls, because it was making other students jealous. I can't prove this, but I'm pretty sure Karen made a big deal about things not being fair, and the school decided to appease her. My therapist ended up getting me to try some breathing exercises when I'm feeling stressed, and they actually worked a little. But after all the stories I've read on the internet, it's a very real possibility that an entitled mom will demand that I give her my lungs because her kid gets good grades. First and foremost, press F to pay respects to Gerald. I'm happy that the grandpa was a good guy. Some of the stories I've read, it was about the grandparents being jerks. Anyways, if you enjoyed these stories, check out the video on the left where Karen screams at OP for not really being disabled, or the video on your right where Karen assaults a deaf man for ignoring her. Peace out.